All right. So then the next one is the Christchurch Foundation. So Sam, I'll get you to come into the chair for this one. I'll vacate the chair because, of course, I'm a trustee of that organisation.
Great, thanks. Len, do you want to run through it and then we can go to questions?
Yeah, good morning everybody. Linda sends her apologies. She did the work on this paper, and it is basically summarises where the foundation came to their position of their budget. We spent time with, Linda spent time with the foundation, made sure we were comfortable with their recommendations they made to their independent board. Their board has approved that budget, and we basically have endorsed the amount of funding that they're requesting from us, from the council.
I think we're on the quarterly performance report.
This is a budget?
No.
Are you want to do the other one?
Item 11, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So the quarterly report, I'll take it as read. The key things that we're seeing in the work that they're doing, it's since inception they've done as much as what they've done as said they're going to do. They've moved out of the establishment phase. They did all the work on the donations from the mosque plus Turonga, and they continue to support that area of works. This is the question, however, if we're looking at quarter 3, quarter 4 and the full year result is really where they'll shine, and therefore this is the work that they've been doing. They're continuing to do it. We're comfortable with the reporting we're receiving from them now, and as we say, we worked with them on the budget and we worked with them on this quarterly report. They've reviewed our content to make sure that it's what it is.
Sure, thank you very much, Len. I've only got one question, and I just think it would be useful to ask it again in public so people can sort of understand it. So just around, it references the 2.5 million of net assets. Can you just talk through the different accounting approach they're taking? Because I think if people were reading that first up, they would think that there was 2.5 million sitting there for any use, whereas a lot of it's tagged for funding. Yeah, so can you just explain that?
Yeah, they basically reserve account for all those pass-through funds. So they basically recognise that that's not their money, even though it's recorded as being as part of equity. That's the reserve accounting that they do. So effectively, the administration fund and the endowment fund form the basis of their equity. That's about $300,000, and so therefore, yes, it looks like they've got money to burn, but in fact, they've committed all of those funds to different projects as they go through. Yes. So they'll continue to reserve account for that, which is an adequate way of looking after those.
No, that's fine. I just thought it's worth calling out. There's actually 300 there.
Yeah.
In effect, a net equity position, but
and they'll build that. The endowment fund will build over time, and that's the
sure.
what they're going to be doing.
Perfect. Does anyone else have questions on this one? Yanni.
Yeah. So in the review, there were a number of concerns raised about the information that was provided. Particularly one of the concerns was around, I'm just trying to think of the right phrase. It was around the work that the foundation does as opposed to the giving out of grants. So the non-financial aspect of the work and what we were funding. Has that been clarified with us around? So I'm sorry. Here it is. It's more detailed information in reporting, including variance analysis, performance commentary, and comparison of actual outrun with budget, and also, around the I forget what the exact phrase was, but it was around the non-financial operation of the foundation.
The key work they're doing on the things like the bird corridor, the corridor from the Port Hills to the central city, all of those sorts of non-financial socio-economic groups that actually we want to make sure work through, they are doing that as part of being non-financial, it's very hard to monitor for our point of view. Remember, we are looking at their delivery of a function to provide philanthropic funds to Christchurch, and that is the key driver. By doing the additional projects like the corridor, they will actually attract more recognition. They'll attract more funding, hopefully, over time. And by working with partners like Meridian, they will get themselves out there as to what they're doing. So we'll see hopefully an increase in funds in their endowment funds and the like, which is being generated through that goodwill work that they're doing through their non-financial. So yes, the report said, hey, look, it wasn't transparent to us, but if you read the basis of their report now, it does highlight the fact that actually they're being a bit more open about what's going on. They're publicly accountable. They're looking at what they're doing, and we can only work with what we receive. But we're receiving what we ask for, and it's relevant.
Okay, but I guess the key question for us is we're giving operational funding, and here in the previous report we were told 2 key questions related to budget, which we were unable to get answers to. Whether activities that the foundation is doing that are non-financial impose material operational costs.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying, is that they will, to make money, they're spending money. And that's the way it will work. And so we're giving them money to do what they need to do under the support agreement. That's how that will work. We are now we're spending more time with Amy and spending time to make sure, like with the budget setting, we now have a good budget that we can revert back to. When it comes to the 4th quarter, we'll be able to see the full year outturn, and that is really where we'll do all that variance analysis. And if we can't do it at that point in time, we've got to question and go back to them and say, why not?
Right.
And so that is when that will happen. Right. And we won't be able to say that, hey, they spent X amount on activity, non-financial activity here, but we'll be able to see what their overall result would be.
Right, okay. So I think the key thing is when it comes back for the 4th quarter report, we will be really clear around the review, around the questions that were asked, and that information will be provided, and we'll have a greater level of understanding.
That's correct, because I think the work we're doing now with the foundation is such that we're an open book with them, or they're an open book with us, to understand that we've given them the money. You, as a group of councillors, have asked the hard questions, say, hey, is this really the right thing you're spending your money on? They will now say, hey, this is what we've spent our money on, and this is what we're going to do. I think the 4th quarter is the time we want to make that question.
Great. Can we go to Anne?
Thank you. So thanks, Ian. So it sounds like you're saying that there's a much closer working relationship that's developed and developing,
yes,
and that you are content with that. And so there's transparency and openness, and you're happy about that.
And to the relevance of what we're doing. I mean,
Right.
if there's something that is happening which we don't need to know about, we won't know about. But
can I just ask you whether you think there is an understanding of the role that Christchurch Foundation does?
much more so.
Much more so, because even just hearing Yanni saying, giving out of grants, they actually don't give out the grants, do they? They actually partner with people to get money, and then, so that's their main focus, is actually to get those partnerships and be a broker for that money.
Yeah, they join up donees and donators.
They're not a fundraiser. They're not it's a different process.
The element of their endowment work is that they're looking at that, they're building that. That'll happen over time.
Right.
It takes time to develop that. But at the moment, their activity majority is pass-through. So therefore, hey, I've got money which I'd like to give to X foundation, it goes there. It just passes through their book.
Yeah, so basically the money we give them, as you said, they have to spend money to make money.
Yep.
And so the money we give them is to enable them to do that.
Yes.
To get the money to spend.
Yes.
For the city.
And and that's the question on value for money is they're now addressing through us. They're saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And it's non-financial and financial activity.
Right. Thank you very much.
Great. Any other questions? So there's a recommendation there just to note the Foundation's Q3 performance report. Catherine's happy to move it. Sarah's happy to second it. Any discussion? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Great.